Welcome to the Witchy Work Wishes podcast, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. Welcome to Witchy Work Wishes. I am your host, Charlene, and today you are joining me for episode number 94, which is dedicated to the Lughnasa celebration happening tomorrow. But first, I'd like to pull some things I did over the past weekend in my own personal practice and share them with you. Now, I originally had big plans to continue on with the renovations, the unpacking and the organizing from my big move back in June, but I pulled a muscle, and that dictated otherwise. So all of that work is on hold for a little bit at least, for now. What I did do, though, was start organizing all of the amazing stuff that I gathered while up in the mountains. And outside of the best part, which was, of course, spending time with my two amazing boys the entire week, I really was able to break down the work I did up there into two kind of main sections or categories. One is going to be, of course, my witchcraft practice, and the second is the Norse pagan practice that I am really diving into. While the two certainly cross over a bunch with me, personally, separating them helped break down the work that I want to do now that I am back home. So first, with the Norse pagan practice, I did read two entire books while I was up in the mountains. Both were about the Elder Futhark runes. One was a pretty quick read. It is a book called The Old Norse Spellbook by Alda Dagny. The other one was a longer read, and this book I really got into. It's called Taking Up the Runes by Diana L. Paxson. So I also had the deck of runes with me up there, which was a great way to help me study and learn them. Now, originally I was going to go through them, one by one, which I guess actually I did. But I saw in one of the books the grouping of the runes into 3 sections or 3 tiers, and for some reason that really made sense to me. So I went with it. And I know 3 is an important number for me, so maybe that's why. I don't know, but it's how I ended up organizing the runes. So you'll hear in last week's episode with the boys, that we're talking about, which tier is the rune that we pulled in. So the way they're grouped is this. So tier 1 is called Freyr and Freya's 8. Tier 2 is called Hemedal and Mordgud's 8. And then tier 3 is called Tiers 8. Now, the word 8 is, I might not be saying it right, it's a Norse word, and it basically means family. It's, like a clan or a grouping of common descent. So we are grouping these runes into families. Now, the word 8 does sound like I'm saying the numerical word 8, E-I-G-H-T, but I'm not. So this is spelled A-E-T-T. And again, I might not be pronouncing it correctly, but it does in fact kind of sound like the number 8. So these 3 tiers, they each have 8 runes in them. That, of course, makes up the 24 Elder Futhark set of runes. And each tier has a theme based on the first rune in it that it's named after. So again, tier 1, that's called Freyr and Freya's 8. And this is all about our basic needs, our roots. It's about growth, wealth, love, and all things that are kind of in our physical world. Tier 2 is called Hemedal and Mordgud's 8, and this set is all about the unexpected and chaos. It's about our potential and definitely dealing with traumatic changes. This group is about the underworld and our unconscious. It's about the seasons and the natural beginnings and endings that come with it. And then the third tier, this is Tiers 8. I've also seen Ziza mentioned in this one, but it's like maybe Tier and Ziza's 8. But this one's all about the masculine and the feminine. It's about the experiences that shape our lives, and it deals with our emotions and our spirituality. So for me, this is how I went about spending time with the runes. I did it in 3 sections, getting to know each rune in each section or family. Now, am I done? No, not even close. Do I have a good base of knowledge? Yes, I do. And, it's this base that will let me grow my understanding and practice with the runes. So I'm super excited. For the witchy side of my recent mountain trip, oh my goodness. Honestly, water. Water was a really big theme this trip. And I love a good potion. And working with the water element of potions is a big component for me, just as much as the herbs and the oils and the intentions and spells are that go into them. So let me tell you, oh my gosh, how much the boys helped me with this. Both of them really pitched in and chimed in of what energy they wanted to work with for the potions that they were going to get back and what waters we were going to be pulling from. So I literally have 9 water bottles, some of them all the way full and some of them just a little full, but 9 water bottles of very specific water for me to do workings with and create, the rollerball potions for each of us. Now, some of the water was storm water. Some was lake water from 2 very different lakes on our big hike. Some was stream water. And one very special bottle has my ancestry, that generational water in it, taken from the place where my grandparents, the boys' great-grandparents' ashes were scattered. So there's a bunch of energy that I now get to work with to create my own personal magical potions for my family and I to use. I also pulled some mountain flowers, some pine needles, and other gatherings from right around the spots that I was working in, that I get to use and infuse into the spell work. And I am taking my time with this one because it's a bunch of very, very different and specific energy that I am looking to work with and have end results on. The other thing we did was, there was a bunch, but we kept a handful of coals from 2 of the fires up there. One was a cabin fire, and that is going to have some very specialized energy that we can add to a new cabin fire next year. The other was a fire pit fire, and same thing here. It's very, very specialized energy to start a new fire pit with. Does not need to be next year. It certainly can be this year, and it can be, here where we are locally. But it retains, the energy from the fire we had up in the mountains to start a new one with. And I have not done that in previous years with the trips to the mountains. Now, I definitely do this process, with my Yule fire. I keep a part of it to start next year's Yule fire with. But the cabin fire and the fire pit fire, those coals, I'm excited. I'm really excited to use this energy to spark new fires. All right, Lughnasa. Oh my gosh, it's tomorrow, August 1st. Let's get right into the main portion of this podcast, which is all about the Celtic festival Lughnasa. Lughnasa, also known as Lammas, it's always fascinated me as what I would consider to be one of the lesser known festivals. But it really is deeply significant when we're talking about Celtic festivals. This is celebrated on August 1st, and it marks the beginning of our harvest season, a time when, those first grains and fruits of the year are gathered. The festival is named after the Celtic god Lugh, who is a deity of light and skill. And Lughnasa is one of the celebrations on our Wheel of the Year calendar, which represents the cyclical nature of our seasons, which I just love. We have 8 festivals known as Sabbats, which are evenly spaced throughout the year. Each Sabbat marks a specific point in the Earth's journey around the sun, and it celebrates seasonal changes. It celebrates agricultural cycles for sure, and also various aspects of life and spirituality for each of us. So depending on when you personally start your calendar, I happen to be a January 1st girl, but I know many people in our practice will actually take Samhain, which is October 31st and November 1st, as the pagan New Year. But Samhain marks the end of harvest season and the beginning of winter, and it's definitely a time to honor our ancestors and the dead. Traditions with this one are going to be like our lighting of bonfires, holding feasts and dinners, divination work, and the fun stuff like carving pumpkins and working with the harvest food. Yule is next. That is our winter solstice. This happens around December 21st. It definitely celebrates the longest night of the year and the rebirth of the sun. This is a time of hope and renewal for many of us. Traditions during this time are going to be all about decorating our Yule trees, exchanging gifts, lighting candles, having fires, and of course, feasting. Next comes Imbolc, which is February 1st, could be the 2nd. This one really does mark the midpoint between winter and spring, and it celebrates that the first stirring of new life and the goddess Bridget. Traditions here are going to be lighting our candles, making Bridget's cross, spring cleaning, of course, and preparing for our growing season. So Ostara is next. That one is the spring equinox, and this usually happens around March 21st. This one celebrates the time of balance between our day and our night. It's really about the renewal of life and fertility. Traditions here can be, for most of us, planting seeds. Of course, we've got the Ostara celebration of decorating eggs, celebrating with feasts, again, and outdoor activities. Beltane, one of my favorites, outside of Yule, just second to Yule. But Beltane is April 30th to May 1st, somewhere in that range. And it really does mark the beginning of the light half of the year, celebrating fertility, growth, and the blossoming of nature. Traditions here are going to be, the maypole, lighting bonfires, decorating with flowers, celebrating with feasts. Is there a celebration that doesn't have a good feast in it? I don't think so. Of course, we always want to celebrate with food, right? Next is Litha. That one is our summer solstice, usually happening around June 21st. This one does celebrate the longest day of the year and the height of the sun's power. This is an absolute time of, abundance and joy. Traditions for Litha can be anything, like outdoor celebration, gathering herbs, lighting bonfires, and of course, feasting. Lammas and Lughnasa, this is where we are right now. This is our August 1st celebration. This one is going to be pretty much the celebration of the harvest season, right? That first grain that gets harvested in our fruits. It's a time of gratitude and a big time of community. Traditions here are going to be like our baking of breads, holding feasts, of course, making offerings for the first harvest, and then, participating in like community stuff like fairs and games. And then last, if you're on that segment of the calendar, would be Mabon. This one is our autumn equinox, usually happening around September 21st. This one really is about that balance again, the balance between day and night, that second harvest. It's a time of thanksgiving and reflection. And typical traditions here are going to be, again, since it's the second harvest, like harvesting our fruits and vegetables, holding feasts, giving thanks, and definitely preparing for the upcoming winter. So each of these Sabbats really do offer a unique opportunity for us to connect with the natural world and reflect, right? Reflect on the changing seasons and celebrate these cycles of life, death, and rebirth. So today it is all about Lughnasa, our August 1st celebration. And, in keeping true to my typical format, I always like to pull some history first, just so, we've got a good base, and then get into some fun stuff that we can do in our practices. Now, my personal journey to understanding Lughnasa really begins with the legends surrounding the god Lugh. Now, according to Irish mythology, Lugh was a multifaceted god associated with really many skills and talents. And he was really revered as a protector of the harvest. Now, the festival, as I learned, was established by Lugh to honor his mother, his foster mother, Talatu, who died of exhaustion after clearing the plains of Ireland for agriculture. Now, in her memory, the ancient Celts held feasts and games and ceremonies to celebrate the bounty of earth and the hard work that brought it forth. Now, digging a little deeper into the historical practices of Lughnasa, I discovered that it was a time for community gatherings and for fairs and for trading. People would actually climb hills and mountains, lighting bonfires and holding feasts at the summit. One of the most intriguing customs was the Telton Games, if I said that correctly, really similar to our Olympic Games, where, feats of strength and skill and endurance were showcased. And these events not only honored the gods, but also served kind of as like a social glue, reinforcing the community bonds and offering a respite from the hard labor of farming. Lughnasa also has a strong element of ritual and superstition. It was believed that making offerings for the first fruits of the harvest to Lugh would ensure a good yield for the upcoming year. Now, I was particularly struck by the hand fasting ceremonies. And if you're not familiar with these are kind of like temporary marriages that lasted 1 year and 1 day. And it allowed couples to test their compatibility. If they chose to stay together, they would do so. If not, they parted ways without societal stigma. And that pragmatic approach to relationships seems, to me at least, remarkably progressive for its time. Now, as Christianity spread through Europe, many pagan festivals were either absorbed or transformed, and Lughnasa was no exception. The festival became known as Lammas, which is from the Old English half-mass, I think, meaning loaf mass. And it was celebrated with the blessing of the first bread made by the new crop. So very similar ties, but while the religious context shifted, I think the core celebration of the harvest remained, which really did blend the old and the new traditions. So reflecting on Lughnasa, this celebration is a reminder for me of our connection to the land and the cycles of nature. In a world where most of us are far removed from the sources of our food, celebrating Lughnasa offers a chance to reconnect with the earth's rhythms and appreciate the hard work of those who bring food to our own tables. It's a testament, really, right, to the resilience and the ingenuity of our ancestors who understood the delicate balance between human effort and natural bounty. Now, for me, Lughnasa is not just a historical curiosity, but honestly a vibrant tradition that still holds relevance today, encouraging all of us, really, to honor the past while celebrating the present harvest of our lives. Now, last year on my Lughnasa episode, the biggest thing I focused on was making my own personal besom, which I still have today, and making a fresh homemade loaf of bread. And honestly, those two are still at the top for me this year, but I always like to add new things, as the years go on. So I do have some things I'm adding on to our list of options for Lughnasa 2024. Let's jump into the basics first, just so, right, we've got our core. The colors of Lughnasa, just think of the sun and wheat. Go for the yellow, the orange, the white colors, copper, green for the plants, and brown for the earth. For our flowers, sunflowers, I think are a staple. Clover blossom, calendula, rose, and poppies for sure. Now, our crystals and stones, for Lughnasa, I would lean towards, citrine, golden topaz, obsidian, moss, agate, carnelian, clear quartz always works. Aventurine would be really good right now, and tiger's eye. Oh, even peridot would be good. Now, for our herbs, I think it's a good time for mint, for sage, basil, sandalwood, frankincense, vervain, and yarrow. Let's see, animals are crows and ravens, yay! But also pigs, roosters, cows, and sheep are good during this time for Lughnasa. And our spirit animals, the phoenix would be perfect right now, centaurs, and a griffin. Okay, number one, first and foremost, now is the time to make a besom. I pulled my notes from last year so I could review them again now, since it is the perfect time to create your own besom or witch's broom. A broom as a household tool is something you're going to find in every home, right? Witch or no witch. But for our personal practices, a broom holds or can hold many different meanings and forms. Of course, it is a tool for our craft, right? And certainly with the many different cultures over time, history has different stories of the broom. In Germany, it was thought that a broom could sweep out bad luck that had fallen upon a household, so each individual member of the home would need to have their own broom. And when sweeping, they would start in the middle of the home and sweep outward, removing any negativity and bad luck through the front and back doors. In China, A broom is only used for the chore of sweeping since it is tied to their house spirits. In Africa, it is said that the man of the home needs to leave while the sweeping is done because if the broom touches him, they will become powerless. All right, so let's make a besom. What are you going to need? You are going to need a branch or a stick. You're going to need wheat or other plant material that may better suit your personal besom. You'll need some twine. You're going to need some type of glue or scissors, and then accessories if you want to embellish it. Things like charms, pendants, and ribbons. For your supplies, honestly, anything that you can get that has fallen in nature is going to bring what I think is amazing energy to your own personal besom. But I understand, not everybody has access to a forest walk or a stroll through the outdoors to just gather items. But if you can, even if it's a fallen tree branch that is somewhat straight for your broom handle, try to get things organically. And don't forget, your broom does not need to be 5 feet tall, right? It can be a small besom, like a handheld broom. So either way, gather all the materials that you need and lay them out. The next part is going to be your personalization, making this your own personal besom. So create the environment and surroundings that you need to give your besom power. I like to light candles. You can light incense. Playing music is powerful. Something, that shares the energy while making it. And certainly give the intentions you want while putting each piece together. Once completed, I would definitely say something, about your besom now having power. So now that we have our own personal besom, what do we use it for? I think there's a handful of things, traditional things. These include standing upright by a door for good luck and protection, for cleaning or cleansing, of course. They're good. Always remember sweeping away from ourselves. Many will use their besom for casting a circle, right? It can be used for cleansing the space of any negative energy. Brooms can be used for protection by placing them under our beds. You can stop gossip with a broom. There's a lot of things. There's a bunch of reading out there about the multiple uses of a witch's broom. If you want to be very traditional about your besom, you're going to want birch twigs for the broom, oak or ash tree branch for the handle, and then willow strands to bind it all. Now, I have an interesting situation this year. I planted 2 broom shrubs that, oh my gosh, in spring have beautiful yellow blooming tiny flowers on it. But I planted 2 last year, and on the move I did in June, I tried to transplant them into pots over at my office. And they didn't survive. But what I have left is some amazing dried branches and leaves that I think I can use for my besom this year. I think the energy is right, especially since it's marking the end of one place and the beginning of the next. The beginning of harvest season and the beginning of a new chapter. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'll be using some of the branches for my besom that I'm making this weekend. But it's an interesting situation. I'll say second for Lughnasa, really, for me at least, is going to be baking bread. This is a biggie, and it ties directly into the harvest celebration and the grains that are now in abundance. And with kitchen witchcraft, it's all about adding our intentions when we bake and cook. So creating a Lughnasa loaf of bread, really, honestly, is going to be no different. Breaking bread for Lughnasa, also, again, that Lammas name, it's a deeply symbolic and time-honored tradition that perfectly captures the essence of this ancient Celtic festival. Again, celebrated on August 1st, Lughnasa really does mark the beginning of the harvest season and the first reaping of grains. So bread, often referred to as the, staple of life, is central to this celebration. And it really does symbolize the fruits of the earth and the labor of the people. So as we gather to bake bread for Lughnasa, we can engage in a ritual that connects us to our ancestors who relied on these grains, these early grains, to sustain their community through the year. But this choice honors the tradition of giving thanks for the bounty provided by earth. Mixing the dough, kneading the dough, and waiting for it to rise. These are all actions that mirror these cycles of nature, right? Growth, transformation, fruition. Each step is infused with intention and reverence, transforming a simple, for most people, maybe not simple for me, but transforming a simple culinary task into a meaningful ritual. As the dough rises, it symbolizes the abundance and potential that the harvest season brings, filling the home with the comforting aroma of baking bread. Now, when the bread is finally baked and shared, it becomes a communal act of thanksgiving and celebration. And traditionally, a portion of the bread is offered to the gods or the spirits of the land as a gesture, right? It's a gesture of gratitude for their blessings and a request for continued abundance. For me, sharing this with wildlife is my connection and the way I like to offer to the land spirits. The rest is shared among family and community, reinforcing our bonds and fostering a sense of unity. Eating the bread is more than just nourishment, right? It's a way to partake in the harvest bounty, celebrating the hard work that brought it forth and the interconnectedness of life. Through the simple act of baking and sharing bread, Lughnasa becomes a time-honored cycle of nature, the legacy of our ancestors in the spirit of community. Now, as a working witch, a bunch of my crafting happens over the weekend. That's just how it is. And Lughnasa is literally tomorrow, Thursday, August 1st for 2024. So for me, I do have other things on my list for this year, but I'll be tackling most of them this weekend, not tomorrow. I find myself filled with a little pep in my step when August approaches, just because honestly, I know we are one step closer to the fall season. We are still in summer though, right now, and celebrating the first harvest and honoring the Celtic god Lugh. Lughnasa is a time to connect deeply with the earth, the changing of the seasons, and my own spiritual path. So here are 9 witchy things that I pulled that I plan to do to embrace the spirit of Lughnasa this year. First and foremost, I already mentioned it, but I am making another besom. Now, my besoms personally are smaller, or on the smaller side, more of like a handheld type broom. And I personally add feathers. I add a witch's bell usually, and some herbs, and a little bit of decorations to the handle before activating it. But there are so many options here on how to personalize your own besom. Next on my list is baking bread that we just talked about, from scratch, using grains that symbolize the first harvest. Now, the process of mixing and kneading and baking, it's not just culinary. It's also meditative and a nice ritual for me. So I will infuse the dough with intentions of gratitude and abundance. And, as the bread breaks, its aroma will fill my home with a sense of warmth and prosperity. And sharing this bread with loved ones, sharing this bread with my work family, it's a heartfelt way for me to celebrate community and connection. I will also be sharing the bread with the land spirits and wildlife. So I'm also going to create a Lughnasa altar of sorts. It's going to be in my kitchen, and I'm going to have it adorned with symbols of the season. Think about the golden wheat stalks here, sunflowers, and freshly harvested fruits that I'm going to decorate the space with, along with candles in probably shades of gold and yellow, maybe an orange in there. I don't personally have an image or statue of Lugh, but I will be honoring the festival's namesake. Now, this altar will serve as a focal point for my rituals and meditations throughout the month of August. To further connect with the earth, I'm going to spend some time outdoors, certainly in my garden, but also on some local mountain hikes. To perform a grounding meditation, I'm going to be sitting on the grass. And I know I keep saying this, but when you get to visualize the roots of you extending from my own personal body into the earth, drawing up the nourishing energy, that's what meditation looks like for me at least. And this practice helps me feel more connected to the natural world and connected to the cycles of growth and harvest. So another activity I'm going to be doing is making a little corn dolly. This is a traditional craft that represents the spirit of the grain. Now, we can use dried corn husks or wheat stalks even, but I'm going to fashion a small doll and place it in my kitchen altar. This dolly is going to symbolize the fertility of the land and the community of life and serve as a talisman, for a prosperous year ahead. Holding a fire ceremony is also on my list, but honestly, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a bonfire this year. With my move, I just don't have the fire pit set up yet. More than likely, it will be a few candles. I'll write down my goals and wishes for the coming months on a small piece of paper and then light them with the candle flames. As they burn, I will visualize these intentions being carried out into the universe, empowered by the transformative energy of fire. Harvesting herbs from my garden is another way I plan to celebrate. This year, I am actually able to gather and work with the herbs I have been growing myself. So I have some drying already for future use in spells and cooking. And this act of harvesting, it's a tangible connection to the cycles of nature and a reminder for me of the abundance that surrounds me. Now, I did have to harvest my garlic super early because of the move, but I have some really cute little Odin heads of garlic that I want to work with for Lughnasa too. Oh, let's see, garlic bread. There it is. Okay, divination is always a meaningful practice during seasonal celebrations. This can be with tarot cards or runes, but I will be performing a reading just, to gain insights into the coming months. This guidance helps me align my actions with the natural energies and make the most of the opportunities that lie ahead. Finally, I'm going to be writing a gratitude list. I think it's important this time of year to reflect on the blessings of the past year, acknowledging the abundance in my life, in my family's life, both big and small. It all matters, and it helps me cultivate, that mindset of thankfulness and opens me up to receive, I think, even more positivity. So sharing this list with close friends or families can also foster a deeper sense of connection and appreciation. Those are my 9. It's going to be my way to connect to the Lughnasa energy this year and, stay true to my witchcraft practice. I want to fully embrace the spirit of Lughnasa, honoring the earth, the harvest, and the cycles of life. And each thing I have planned is a step. It's a step towards deepening my connection to nature and the seasons. All right, let's talk business. It would not be a complete Witchy Work Wishes episode if we did not talk about bringing this amazing celebration into our corporate worlds. So bringing the spirit of Lughnasa into our offices and work environments really can foster a sense of community there, just as much as we were talking about, community in our personal practices. It's about gratitude, connection to the cycles of growth and productivity, and our office family. There are a bunch of options here, but the first 3 are on a bigger scale, meaning like good for a larger type company and organizing things for everybody to do. And those would be to host a harvest-themed team building event, to implement a gratitude and recognition program, and a third to organize community service or some type of giving back initiatives. So for the host a harvest-themed team building event, this could look like something that brings employees together in a fun and engaging way. Maybe a company picnic, a potluck with seasonal foods, or even a cooking class, right, where employees can make bread or make other traditional harvest dishes together. Events like this can help strengthen team bonds. They definitely create a sense of unity and celebration with employees. And including activities like team building games, collaborative cooking, or even a communal meal, I think those are going to enhance the spirit of cooperation and mutual appreciation. For the, gratitude or recognition program, Lughnasa is such a good time to give thanks for the harvest. So honestly, implementing something like this is going to help align with that type of energy and theme. We can encourage employees to express gratitude and acknowledge, each other's hard work and contributions to the company. This can be done through a formal recognition platform, certainly, where colleagues can send appreciation messages or even nominate each other for awards. But management can also host a recognition ceremony to celebrate milestones, to celebrate achievements and the collective efforts of the team. All of it's going to foster a positive, or help to foster at least, a positive and appreciative workplace culture. For the community service and maybe implementing some giving back initiatives, I just think that ties to Lughnasa perfectly. Employees can participate in local community service projects, such as helping food banks, Maybe you have a community garden close to work. Honestly, even organizing a donation drive for local shelters. All of those activities not only honor the essence of Lughnasa, right, by sharing the bounty and supporting those in need, but it also promotes teamwork and a sense of corporate social responsibility. Engaging in such initiatives can help employees feel more connected to the broader community and to each other. Overall, I think it's going to enhance our workplace morale. Now, on a smaller scale, like on a personal level, just you wanting to do something for Lughnasa at your office or at your own personal desk, super easy one is going to be create like a little mini altar, right? Or some type of seasonal display. Set up something small, unobstructive, and seasonal right there on your desk to remind you of the festival. You can include symbolic items maybe, like wheat stalks, some small sunflowers, or even dried corn husks. Candles, again, depending on what your corporate environment allows, they could be battery-operated candle, but something for like a little festive glow with, without violating your office safety rules. But crystals also work for seasonal displays. We can incorporate them with abundance and gratitude, such as that citrine that I mentioned or the green adventurine. Second would be to bake and share bread. I probably will be doing this on the night this airs on Wednesday so I can bring it into the office on Thursday. Again, that really depends on what happens at the work, what time I get home. But, baking a loaf of bread at home and bringing it to work to share with your colleagues, that's perfect for Lughnasa. Bread definitely symbolizes the harvest, and sharing it can foster a sense of community and gratitude. And, if baking isn't an option, consider bringing store-bought artisanal bread or other harvest-themed treats like muffins or fruit. Third would be just to practice gratitude. And I feel like that just sounds so cliche now, but it's true, right? We can reflect on what we are grateful for. We can keep a small notebook at our desk where we write down things that we think of as they come up, right, that we are thankful for every day. And we can write a few notes of appreciation to our colleagues. It doesn't have to be the big corporate event that I was just mentioning earlier. It can just be a nice little note of appreciation to somebody you work with and, that you can just leave on their desk or send them an email. Fourth would be an herbal ritual tea. I think that's always nice to do during Lughnasa, such as chamomile. This is a good time for mint, rosemary even. But brew yourself a cup during your break and take a moment. Take a moment to enjoy the flavors and the scents and ground yourself in the present moment and the season's energy. I know I mentioned decorate with seasonal colors, back with like a little display on your desk, but there's other ways you could probably bring it in, right? You could do gold, yellow, and orange items like pens, sticky notes, a little small desk mat, something with like colors to create that warm, festive atmosphere and remind you of the season's themes. I love my nature walks. If you can, on a break, spend part of your lunch or, a break walking outside in a nearby park or green space. Use this time to connect with nature, observe the seasonal changes, and gather small little items like acorns or leaves or, something that has fallen naturally in nature and bring it back to your desk. Number 7 would be to set intentions and goals. This is always a great time to reflect, right, on our goals and our intentions for the coming months. Write them down on a piece of paper and keep it in a drawer, at your desk as a reminder. This can help you stay focused and motivated, and it's a great way to align your personal and your professional growth with the seasonal energy of Lughnasa. 8 would be to listen to seasonal music. Oh my gosh, my boys, Taylor had the best downloaded like Viking Norse music for our trip up at the mountains. It was wonderful. But create a playlist of music that evokes the spirit of the harvest and the festival, whatever that theme is for you. Listen to it with headphones while you work to kind of create your personal celebratory atmosphere. And 9, I've got to share the spirit, right? If you're comfortable, share a bit about Lughnasa with your colleagues. This could be through casual conversation or honestly by truly explaining the significance of the bread or the treats that you're bringing in to share and what it means to you. Educating others about the festival can certainly spread awareness, but it helps to foster a more inclusive and diverse workplace. Now, by integrating some of these, one, two, all of them, whatever you can do, whatever you want to do into your workday, you can definitely, celebrate Lughnasa at your desk and carry the festival's spirit of gratitude and abundance and connection into your professional life. Well, there we have it. Lughnasa 2024. It's tomorrow, Thursday, August 1st. And I know giving you all this information the day before is not the best way to share. So I really do appreciate you still tuning in and listening to this episode, even though it is one day before the event. But again, for us working wishes, we can do many of these activities this coming weekend. The energy of Lughnasa is not gone the next day, right? It's here. And there are many things we can celebrate with it over the next week and into August. All right, well, I do have a poem for you this week, and I do have a big moon update, so I'm going to grab both of those, and I will be right back. Let's go ahead and start with my Lughnasa poem first, and this is a new one that I wrote for this year's celebration. And it goes. In fields of gold where shadows play, the harvest sun begins its sway. Lughnasa calls with ancient cheer to mark the turning of our year. The God of light, young Lugh so bright, guides us through this sacred night. We gather grain, our labor's pride, with hearth and home now unified. Beneath the sky so wide and blue, we give our thanks to all that's true. The earths embrace the seeds we've sown, from humble roots our crops have grown. The cycle turns and seasons pass, from green of spring to autumn's glass. For in this time of harvest's call, we find our place within it all. All right, our moon, our beautiful, beautiful moon, well, she's still in her descent from last week and waning even more. As this airs, she is a waning crescent moon, and during this phase, it's a great time in our practice to wind down to. But I also want to talk about the dark moon coming up this weekend and the new moon on Sunday and Monday, since they both happen before I get to talk with you again. So for today, and our waning crescent moon right before the dark moon on Saturday, it is a powerful time for rituals focused on release and reflection and preparation for new beginnings. Now, if you're looking for specific rituals to do right now during this waning moon, I would focus on things about releasing and letting go. This is about, letting go of negative habits, negative thoughts or situations. I would focus on cleansing and purification rituals, something, to cleanse your space, even yourself, of lingering negative energies. This is a good time for meditation and reflection. Certainly you can look back on past lunar cycles and how best to prepare for the new one. It's a great time for cord cutting rituals and spells. This is to sever energetic ties with people or situations that no longer serve you. And lastly, I would do dream work and intuition. My dream work is always so prevalent during a waning and dark moon phase. They're exaggerated. Also, on a full moon, I'll have very, very vivid dreams. But those 5 things I would probably focus on the most for right now. Again, release and let go, cleanse and purify, do some meditation, some reflection. Great time for cord cutting, and a good time for dream work and intuition enhancement. Now, speaking of the dark moon, she is next, and she is happening on Saturday the 3rd. And the power of a dark moon. So it's the period just before the new moon happens, when the moon is not visible in the sky. And it really is a powerful time for introspection, release, and transformation. So dark moon, things I would focus on are going to be about releasing and letting go. It is really an ideal time for releasing and letting go what no longer serves you. This can include old habits, negative thoughts, toxic relationships, any unresolved emotions. By consciously releasing these aspects, you really are creating space for new beginnings and, that positive energy to enter your life during the upcoming new moon. Dark moon, I would also focus on shadow work. My most favorite time to do shadow work. So the dark moon's energy, I think, really does support that deep introspection and shadow work environment, which really does involve exploring and integrating those hidden or repressed aspects of ourselves. So this is a time to confront our fears, acknowledge our flaws, and understand the deeper motivations behind our actions. So for rituals and practices, I would definitely say journaling, right? Reflect on your inner thoughts and feelings, explore aspects of yourself that you may have been avoiding. Meditation, if that's something you practice, this is a great time to kind of connect with your inner self and gain insights into your subconscious mind. And then dream work. Pay attention to those dreams during a dark moon. They can often offer valuable insights and messages from our subconscious. I've also got rest and rejuvenation, though, right? Dark moon is, I think it's a period of rest and rejuvenation in that it allows us to recharge our energy before the new lunar cycle starts all over again, right? It's a slow down time. It's a practice self-care and prepare yourself for the new opportunities and intentions that you're going to be setting during the new moon. So for this, I would look at, any activity that's going to nurture your body, your mind, and your spirit. If it's taking a long bath, go get it. If it's practicing yoga, have at it. If it's enjoying a quiet evening with a good book, do it. It's self-care. Whatever self-care looks like for you, dark moon is a great time for it. And then healing energy, whatever that looks like for you. If it's Reiki, if it's crystal healing, do something that can balance and restore your energy. And of course, nature, I'm a big one for that. Spend time outside. Ground yourself and absorb the calming and rejuvenating energies of the natural world. So I think by working with the energy of the dark moon, we can effectively release the old, embrace introspection, rejuvenate our spirit, and, prepare for the new beginnings that are coming up with the new moon. And for this phase, the new moon phase, she's actually starting on Sunday. And we have the new sturgeon moon as it starts the lunar cycle for the August full moon, which is traditionally known as the sturgeon moon. So quickly, just, for notes for the month of August, I am working on full moon herbs and the full moon cocktail section. This is the episode, with my after hours segment of Witchy Work Wishes. Now, I've not totally secured my guest for this one, but if I do in fact get him, talk about energy, you're going to be getting it. It's a bunch of energy that this gentleman has, and he knows his cocktails. He's a great mixologist. I'm really hoping to secure him for my full moon cocktail episode coming in August. He is literally the perfect guest to have for that episode, but I digress. Let's focus on new moon energy. So this weekend at the end, on Sunday, we are going to be starting our new moon. And I know there is a lot, right? There's a lot of energy with Lughnasa, the waning moon, then our dark moon, and now we've got the new moon, all before we talk again next week. So I'm going to try to get all of this in for you. So our new moon. This is all about our new beginnings and fresh starts, right? Looking ahead to the new lunar month. So for this one, I think it's great to set intentions. The new moon is truly what I consider the ideal time to set intentions for the upcoming lunar cycle. It's a perfect time to plan and make our to-do lists. I would also do some cleansing and purification. This is both physical and emotional, right? It's the time to cleanse our spaces, but also emotionally, clean slate. If something didn't get done last month, well, we're starting over, and we will be tackling it this month. So new moons are, in fact, about starting new, about saying yes, making lists, getting organized, working with new moon herbs and, the oils, and setting our intentions and making goals. We've got this. We can do this. It's a lot. A lot is going on. It's a lot of energy, but it is all very good. Very, very good energy. So I do want to take a quick moment before I say goodbye and say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the Witchy Work Wishes family. I honestly look forward to recordings each week and summarizing more witchy things that we can be doing, both in our personal practices and our corporate worlds. I hope you have an amazing Lughnasa tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful dark moon on Friday and Saturday, and then a great new moon on Sunday and Monday. I will talk with you next week. Thank you for joining me today at Witchy Work Wishes, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. For more information and additional content, please visit me online at witchyworkwishes.com. If you want to send me a personal note, please email me at info@witchyworkwishes.com. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Witchy Work Wishes.